Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. Today we're going to be talking about the Knicks potentially trading for Paul George. We know that the past 3-4 seasons, the Knicks have been gearing up to trade for a star. Everything has changed since acquiring Jalen Brunson. Donovan Mitchell I don't see as a realistic option anymore if he does end up being traded, because the Knicks went after Mitchell because they didn't have a star player. Well, they've got Jalen Brunson now, right? Of course, Julius Randle before his injury looked like he was a different player. He was going out there and giving the Knicks 24 and 9 and 50% shooting. The Knicks, you would think that they don't want a star player. Of course, they're going to keep their options open, but a report did come out, according to The Athletic, that the Knicks are targeting this upcoming summer as the time to make the trade for the next star. If they're not able to reach an agreement this summer, July, then they're going to be willing to wait until the trade deadline. So the Knicks are trying to trade for Mikal Bridges, Cat, Paul George, maybe even Donovan Mitchell, even though things have changed, right? Like, we don't really know what the Knicks are exactly thinking, but we do know that the Knicks have tried to trade for Paul George in the past. They just weren't willing to get aggressive because of his age, his injury concerns, and he wants a long-term deal. PG, if he does opt in, will be making, I forget if it was 46 or 48 million, but I mean, that's a lot of money for a 34-year-old that has played 74 games only once the past 5 years. When I went into this video and did my research before I got into everything, I was thinking Paul George would be the perfect fit for our team, because could you imagine a defensive perimeter of Paul George and OG Anunoby? I mean, that would be ridiculous with Mitchell Robinson defending the paint. I mean, the Knicks could be the best defense in the NBA. They were the best defense in the month of January when they were healthy. Imagine adding in Paul George, right? And that was without Mitchell Robinson too. So that would just be crazy. But this isn't going to happen, right? This is a trade that I just don't see a world where it happens. $48.8 million for Paul George. I mean, if he's fully healthy, that's definitely worth it. I mean, you look at 2022, so you go back a little bit. When he was fully healthy, the first 24 games of the year, he was averaging 25, 7, and 5. While playing elite defense. PG was an early MVP candidate. If the Knicks got that Paul George, they're winning the championship. Are you guys willing to trade Julius Randle, a first-round pick, Bogdanovich potentially, Jericho Sims? That's just too much, right? Even for a healthy Paul George, that's arguably too much. Julius Randle is an all-NBA player when he's out there, and we've seen that time and time again. Jericho Sims, he might not even be on the roster, if I'm being honest with you guys. I hope he is, because he's cheap and I think he's got upside, man. I'm hookum. Bogdanovich, Bojan, I'm cool if he stays, I'm cool if he leaves. I think he's a good piece to our bench. He's just a little bit too pricey. I'd rather have a veteran on maybe the exception or vets minimum than Bogdanovich. Like, no disrespect, but I mean, I do like his shot creating ability, but just, I don't know, man. Just the money. The Knicks just don't have as much money as you guys think. Look at our team right now. Jalen Brunson is on a steal of a contract, which is so beneficial, and he's actually going to sign an extension that is going to pay him more money, but it's still a steal for a top 10 player in the NBA. Dante is under contract. Remember, we got him last season. We've got to pay Hartenstein. We've got to pay OG. Randall is about to get extended as well. Miles McBride's on a cheap deal. Josh Hart is extended. Mitchell Robinson, I believe we extended. Achua is a free agent, restricted though. Hopefully we bring him back. Like, you can see, like, a lot of the guys on our team either are being paid or are about to get paid. So we just don't have a lot of wiggle room. OG is going to make a ton of money. Hartenstein's going to make a ton of money. OG might make $35 million a year, guys. Hartenstein might make $20 million a year, and not to mention everyone I just named. So if the Knicks were to trade for Paul George, we would absolutely have to give up Julius Randle. And I bet you there's, I'm not going to say 90% of Knicks fans listening right now, but I would bet money that 70 to 75% of you listening right now would rather have Julius Randle flat out than Paul George. And again, we're accounting for everything, not just a healthy Paul George or a healthy Randle. Because if it was up to me, I would take Paul George. And Randle, again, absolutely, man, is he a monster, right? But Paul George can play without the basketball. He's an elite defender, and he's literally the perfect fit next to OG and Brunson. But we have to factor in everything. Julius Randle's 29 years old. He'll be 30 in November. Paul George is 34 years old and hasn't been able to stay healthy. Not to mention that Paul George in the playoffs wasn't particularly impressive. I mean, he goes out there and against the Mavericks, who, yes, are an elite defensive team, but he shoots 41% from the field, 36.7% from three. Both of those were well down from what he did in the regular season. Now, again, for me to say Paul George was bad in the playoffs, Julius Randle is very bad in the playoffs, but I want to see what Randall is able to do with the team that we have now, because he was injured against the Cavs and the Heat, and then the one against the Hawks, it's his first playoffs, man. I mean, much different time. But let's see how Randall can respond this upcoming season with more around him, because there was a lot of pressure on Randall, a lot of pressure on Brunson, don't get me wrong, but now the Knicks have guys that can make plays. I mean, Alec Burks is an unrestricted free agent, but we saw Miles McBride be able to knock down some shots. Josh Hart elevated his game. Hartenstein elevated his game. And, of course, Dante DiVincenzo had his moments. I mean, overall, Dante in the playoffs, his efficiency... what did he shoot from 3 in the playoffs? He shot 42.5%. So I guess his efficiency didn't actually technically went up from 3, a little bit down from the field. But, I mean, we know he's a 3-point shooter, but Dante elevated his game in the playoffs. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, what was it? Game 6. Game 6, if I'm thinking of the right game, the dude could not miss. It was one of the craziest shooting performances I've ever seen from a Knick. I mean, unbelievable. It reminded me a little bit of J.R. Smith, man. I'm back in 2013 when he won 6 Man of the Year and just got hot. But another thing that doesn't get talked about is Dante didn't come into the season as a starter. I mean, Dante was supposed to be coming off the bench. He was just playing so well, and he had opportunity that the Knicks kept him in there. So, like, you look at our roster right now, I don't think we need a star. Do I want Mikal Bridges? Absolutely, and he's more than likely going to be my next video, either him or Cat. But we don't need a star. If you look at the Knicks right now, they're good enough to win a championship, assuming OG and Hartenstein re-sign. If we lose Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson could be the center, we bring in someone else, I mean, I think that would be okay. But best case scenario is we bring the same team back. Even Bogdanovic, we could bring him back, man, and pay him about 17, 18 million for the season, but we'll see what happens. But the Knicks prove that this team right now, remember, it beat the Nuggets by 44, it beat the Timberwolves, it beat the Sixers with Embiid. The Knicks were absolutely dominating the NBA. They were the best defensive team. They were scoring the lights out of the basketball. And then they lost Randall. They lost OG. Let's see what this team can do. But at the same time, if the Knicks can get Mikal Bridges or Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, I'm not going to sit up here with a straight face and tell you guys that they should not do it, because they should. I get the chemistry, the culture is great. But we also have to realize that you have to improve your roster. If you want to win, you've got to improve. Teams around the Knicks are only going to get better. And you guys know that I'm right. The Knicks, if they can get better, they've got to do it. Doesn't mean let's get aggressive and let's go ahead and trade McBride, 2 first-round picks, Julius Randle to get someone. Like, no, don't do that. But, I mean, if you can get Karl-Anthony Towns and not give up too much, I mean, you probably want to do that, right? Because, I mean, Cat, his ability to shoot the basketball and stretch the floor. Imagine what Jalen Brunson would do with Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, there's going to be, first of all, there's going to be nobody in the paint, because the center is not leaving Cat wide open, or, like, maybe, sure, the Knicks run... I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even fathom how ridiculous that would be. But I don't think the Knicks are truly going to end up trading for a star player this summer, because the options are Bridges. But are the Nets going to trade Bridges to the Knicks? Like, I don't see a world where that happens, man, because the Nets are... I'm not going to say they're arrogant, but I just don't see the Nets doing that. If they're going to trade Bridges, it's probably going to be like the Houston Rockets or something like that. I see the Knicks, if they were to make a big trade, it being at the deadline. The Knicks are like saying, hey, look, right now we feel like we can win a championship. We're one piece away. Let's go do it. But this summer, I don't see the Knicks being too aggressive. Now, the only trade I think the Knicks are going to make is either for some type of bench guy, or they're going to package the 24th and the 25th pick, and they're going to move up, which they should do. I mean, your best chance in the draft is picking as high as possible. So would you guys rather have, let's say, the 16th or the 17th pick, or 24 and 25? Now, if it was the NFL, obviously... yes, sign me up for those 2 picks, but this is the NBA. The Knicks already have a shortened roster. Not a shortened roster. Well, I guess technically it is a shortened roster. Like, the Knicks have depth. Like, Brunson, Devo, OG, Randall, Hartenstein, McBride, Hart, Bogdanovic. What is that, 8 guys? I just said 8 guys. So the Knicks already have 8 players that are going to be playing, assuming that, again, this roster comes back. Which means that the Knicks aren't going to even be able to get 2 rookies on the court. So if you can go ahead and get 1 rookie, maybe some type of big man, because I simply don't think Isaiah Hartenstein's coming back. So the Knicks should be looking for a center. Mitchell Robinson, I don't know what to make of him. I want to make a video and just strictly talk about Mitchell Robinson, but I feel like Mitch, when he's actually focused and on the court, could be an absolute monster. And Mitch, I don't know, man. I'm not going to tell him how to live his life. He's a grown man. But I feel like if Mitch just this offseason kind of just stays off of social media and locks in and focuses, he could be one of the best centers in basketball. I mean, Mitch has so much potential, but we'll wait and see what happens, guys. We're Knicks Daily. I'm about to sign out, man. Until next time, boys. Peace.